What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back, and this week we're doing our Week 12 college basketball picks and preview, and we'll just get right into it here. Week 11, Ty once again beating me. The records should be 85 and 37. As we just fixed that here, we'll just fix that right now. 85 and 37 as we updated that, but I think don't sleep on me come March Madness because that's when the chaos ensures. So no lead is safe come March Madness, but right now obviously you have an 18 game comfortable lead, and I don't know how you do it, but somehow you're just running away with it.
Yeah, some interesting results last week for sure with Michigan State and Marquette getting road wins that no one really expected, and then Indiana with a huge upset of Purdue at home, and then my two upset picks just didn't pan out. But just keep rolling going into next week.
And starting off with tonight's game, Texas Tech, Kansas, two teams, not just looking for a win for the resume, but also in conference, huge conference game on a Monday night at 9. And I got to go with a hot hand in Kansas. I mean, Bill Self and his company at home, I mean, it's just kind of unbeatable. And I think just because this game's at home, we saw Texas Tech beat them at home. And I think it's going to flip here. Kansas is going to beat them at home.
Yeah, I'm just not going to pick Kansas to lose at Allen Fieldhouse. Watch out, though. It could be close. Texas Tech already beat him without Terrence Shannon. Now he's back. But I just think Kansas has a little too much in this game at home for Texas Tech.
And moving to Tuesday at 7, Michigan State, Illinois. I'm going Michigan State here. I think they've just been hot. I think Kofi will return for this game, but I just think, Max Christie has really stepped up to the role that they finally needed him to come into, it seems like, in these last few games. And beating Wisconsin on the road, why can't they go into Illinois, into Champaign, and beat them as well? So I think Michigan State's going to have a great start to their week.
Yeah, just a disclaimer. If Kofi does not play, I will be changing my pick to Michigan State. But assuming he does play, I just don't think Michigan State has anyone with enough size to guard him outside of Sissoko. But, he's really just kind of an inconsistent player. So I think Kofi's going to have his way in this game. And if they decide to double him, Illinois has just too many shooters for you to do that consistently. So I think Illinois is going to get the win at home if Kofi plays.
And moving to Tuesday night, the late game, the game of the Pac-12 for this year, 16-1 Arizona, 13-2 UCLA, and you can't bet against the Bruins at home. Johnny Juzang has slowly, regained the season he was having last year in March Madness as of late, and I think his play is what's going to lead UCLA to a victory here.
Yeah, I think Arizona's the better team. If it's a neutral site, I'm going Arizona. But at UCLA, I think it's going to come right down to the wire, and UCLA has so many clutch players. I think they get the close win at home, but both of these teams are going to be great going forward.
Moving over to Wednesday, starting at 6, we got Tennessee and Florida, and I'm going with my upset pick of the week here. I think Florida, they're starting to creep back up into March Madness talks, and Colin Castleton is the main reason of that. He's been dominant in the SEC, kind of carrying this Florida team to those 12 wins and really getting back to where we thought they would be around, the mid tier of the SEC, and, a lower, 9-10 seed for March Madness. And a win here, I think, propels them to that range here, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with Tennessee at home, but I do think it will be close because Florida's kind of a desperate team. They're borderline tournament right now. I think they're barely in. But Tennessee coming off a big win over LSU, I think they stay hot and get a win in a defensive battle.
And at 6:30, if you like other things than defense, if you like offense, turn into this one. It's the Big East. Seems like no defense is played in this conference. But surprisingly enough, both of these teams actually do play defense. And Xavier's looking to come back after a loss against Marquette, while Providence is looking to keep the win streak going. on the road, and I think they're going to get that done. My sleeper Big East team, probably just because I bet on them to win. That's probably why. But I just am seeing this Providence team day in and day out. They just keep winning games, and here they are, 16-2, looking to make it 17-2.
Yeah, these tight Big East games, it seems like they can all go either way, but I'm just going to go with the home team and Xavier, who I have thought were frauds actually for a while now, but they're starting to impress me. I've watched them their last two games, and they have a lot of talent, something that I didn't really see out of them, but they're definitely a lot better team than I thought. And I just think playing on their home court, that's a tough place to play. I think they should handle Providence and get right back into the Big East championship conversation.
And another Big East game, yet again, could go either way. Seton Hall quietly hanging in there in the Big East at 12-5, and Marquette surprisingly ranked this week in the AP rankings at 22. So we're going with the upset here. I don't know, the spread yet. Obviously, it doesn't come out till the day before or day of. And I think Seton Hall is going to be favored in this game because it is at home. And that's why I'm going with Seton Hall as well.
You might have the two most inconsistent Big East teams right here. Not to say that they're not good, but it just seems like they're so up and down. So I'm gonna go with the home teams in Seton Hall. I think they have better guard play than Marquette. And Marquette, it seems like they're just if they're hitting their threes, they win. If they're not, they don't. So on the road, I'm just gonna go ahead and say Seton Hall wins this game in a close game.
And moving to 9 o'clock on Wednesday, LSU, Texas A&M. Texas A&M has been a really good team at 15-4. Kind of surprising when I saw that. And LSU looking to bounce back after two tough losses last week. And I think they're going to do it at home. It's definitely going to be a good game. Should be a low-scoring game as well, probably. And I think LSU has the upper hand scoring-wise, so I'm going with LSU.
Yeah, I agree. I think LSU is going to do it with their defense and athleticism here. It's going to be too much for Texas A&M. Props to them, 15-4, off to a good start, but I don't think they are quite there yet to get this road win.
And moving to Thursday, the 27th at 9 p.m. on Fox Sports 1, we got Purdue at Iowa. And this could be one of those, slippery slope type games for Purdue because, at Iowa, you lose this game and then you got Ohio State on Sunday. Not enough time to, really plan for that, a game plan around that. So could be two tough losses for Purdue this week that I could see happening. But in this one, I'm picking Purdue because I just think they have too much talent to lose this game. If Iowa had Garza for his 10th year, it could be a different story. But Purdue, I think they'll win in a low-scoring affair.
Yeah, Iowa doesn't have Garza for his 10th year, but they do have Bohannon for his 10th year. But he just has been very underwhelming this year. I actually expected a lot out of him, and he hasn't really done a whole lot. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Purdue. As long as they don't let him, find his shooting stroke, I think they just have too much for Iowa. Tough place to play, but they've already been upset by Indiana last week, so they're going to come in well prepared this time, and they should win.
And moving to Saturday, the 29th, we got, our favorite school to root for, Michigan, going against our in-state rival, Michigan State. We're both going with Michigan here, I think, in the upset because they have been playing good as of late. But I'll talk about Michigan State here. And this team, I think is performing faster and better than we expected. Give Izzo credit for his good coaching this year. But I think the upset is it's too sweet not to pick. Michigan needs it more than anything, especially with that 9-7 record. You win that, I think you get yourself right back in that conversation of being a tournament team come March. And I think that's the first step they take to get back in that conversation this week.
Yeah, Michigan apparently, well, unless this game gets rescheduled, the home game for Michigan, they apparently need this one because this might be the only time they play this year. It's not looking super promising that they're going to end up playing that game at Chrysler. So this is your only shot at your rival. unless they play in the Big Ten tournament. So you got to go in motivated and you got to win this game if you're Michigan. And I just think they've been playing really well. They went into Assembly Hall yesterday and had their way with Indiana team who just beat Purdue. So, you know, I'm pretty biased here. We all know that, but I am going to go with Michigan going on the road. I just think, all the talent they have is starting to come together. And I think they can go in and win this game.
And moving to 4 o'clock on Saturday, Baylor at Alabama. Should be a really good close game, but you got to give it to the defending champs here in Baylor. After that tough 2-loss week a few weeks ago, last week we were talking about in our rankings video, 2 solid road wins to come back, and he really showed that they are the 4th best team in the country. And I think they're going to start a new win streak essentially here, and they're going to beat Alabama on the road.
Yeah, I've been waiting for Alabama to look like that top 10 team that they were earlier in the season, beating Gonzaga and Houston, and I just haven't seen it. They beat LSU this week. That's a good win. But even that, they didn't really put all the pieces together. They kind of limped their way to the win. And this Baylor team, I think, is just too much to handle. When you're relying on threes and athleticism, this is not the team that you want to see. So I think Baylor, they have a chip on their shoulder after those 2 losses. I think they'll go in there and have their way with Alabama.
And at 4:30, we got Marquette and Providence. And this week, looks like Marquette's dropping out of the rankings if you go by our picks here. 2 losses this week. I'm having Providence probably move up to the top 10 after 2 big wins this week. And 18-2 for Providence wouldn't be too bad. And I was just saying it earlier in this video, they're my Big East team this year that's going to make a run. And I mean, we know Villanova's still in the Big East and how good they are, but that slip up last week against this Marquette team at home, which is so unexpected for Villanova. I just think that it's someone else's year this year to win the Big East, and why not Providence?
Yeah, I mean, I think Providence and their athleticism, their defense can really shut down the 3-point shooting of Marquette here. And Marquette's just a really inconsistent team. So they're coming off a high of last week. And for them, that usually means they're going to come back down to earth this week. And, they have 2 tough road games. I have Providence losing to Xavier. I don't see them losing that game and then coming back home and losing again. So I think they'll bounce back and beat Marquette.
And moving to 6 o'clock on Saturday, probably the best game of the week, at least on paper. Kentucky, Kansas. We all know how this one's going to go. 2 legendary coaches. Should be a tight battle the whole game. And, the beginning of the year, they were at the same venue, didn't play each other. And here they are now, and probably almost identical, rankings to what they had at that time at the beginning of the year as well. So definitely 2 teams that have been consistent all year. And I think John Calipari is going to get the win here in his Kentucky squad on the road.
I want to pick Kentucky here. Again, it's like Arizona, UCLA. Kentucky, in my opinion, is better than Kansas. But like I said, with the Texas Tech game, I just can't pick Kansas to lose at Allen Fieldhouse. So I think they're going to win a very tight game here. Ochai Agbaji should be able to come up clutch at the end, but watch out for Kentucky. Even if they lose this game and have 5 losses going forward, they're going to be a real force in the national championship hunt. Unfortunately, I think they come up short in this one.
And also at 6 p.m., a game that probably nobody will watch unless you're a Texas Tech or Mississippi State fan because of that other game, but should be a very good game and interesting game, I think. This Mississippi State team has given some teams fits in the Big 12 so far, or in the SEC so far. But going on the road, I think doesn't help you at all, especially in the Big 12, and how good that conference has been as well. So you got to go with Texas Tech here.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech is really just going to make this a really low-scoring, ugly game, just how they like it. Mississippi State needs a win for the tournament, but it's not going to happen here, unfortunately.
And on Saturday at 8, we got Tennessee and Texas. And Texas, falling out of our rankings last week. But I think they might enter here again after that. Bless me. Sorry. After a huge win here against a ranked team in Tennessee. And, Chris Beard, a tournament team, it seems like they always fly under the radar coming into the tournament around a 6 seed. And boom, they're in the Sweet 16 every year somehow. So if they get a win here, they might move up to the 5-4 seed range. But I think Texas is definitely a team to be reckoned with come these next 2 months.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. It's two underperforming defensive teams, two UT teams. So it should be a low-scoring defensive battle. But Texas needs a win like this. I've been saying this for a while, but I think they finally get it. This is the time. It's a home game against a kind of, underwhelming Tennessee team for their preseason expectations. So I'm going to say Texas wins a defensive battle.
And on Sunday, our last game of the video here, Ohio State, Purdue. And pretty much Zach Edey is going to dominate this game, I think. With Jaden Ivey still, he didn't play last week, the last game against Northwestern, didn't need him. And they showed that they can run it with Ivey and Williams. And since Williams moved to the bench, Ivey has really became a star, and Edey as well. So I don't know. This Purdue team is going to be scary come March because you can't match up a 6'11" guy and then a 7'2" guy. You're rare if you have one of those guys on your team, but you have two, and both of them can play at a high elite level. I think that's what makes Purdue so scary, not only in this game, but down the stretch as well.
Yeah, this is just a really bad matchup for Ohio State. Their best player is their center, E.J. Liddell, but he's, 6'8" or 6'9". So they don't really have anyone that can really match up with Purdue's size. They have Zed Key, who's a little taller, but, he's not going to be a force against these guys. And Jaden Ivey, Ohio State really has no one who can match him on defense. So I just think Purdue is much better equipped in this game, and they should win at home fairly easily, in my opinion.
And that'll be it for this video. If you haven't checked out our rankings for this week, make sure you check that out in our previous video. And you also like college basketball, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're going to be covering college basketball a lot coming up from this video on. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.